Hi guys, I never did Humpday lesson day yesterday. Today is actually Thursday. I didn't get around to it, so sorry. My general rule is I try to do everything that I'm supposed to do each day, but if I miss something by one day, early or late, I can go ahead and do it. But to me, if I miss it by 2 days or 2 days early, it's not really relevant. I'll just let it go. So I've let a couple things go. I think I let go 3-chord Sundays last Sunday. I just didn't have the time. And it wasn't until Tuesday till I thought I could, but that's 2 days later. It doesn't seem relevant. But this is only 1 day later. In fact, it's only a few hours later because it's just barely Thursday because it's still like like what is it, 2 in the morning or something. So I'm doing a belated Humpday lesson day for this week. How you guys doing? I always use this black guitar for lessons because it's the one that's tuned to E, in case you guys are tuning to me. I don't want you to have to tune to E flat or D for me. So this is my guitar tuned to E. So here's an E, here's an A, here's a D, here's a G, here's a B, here's an E. Before I get into lessons of technique or theory or music itself, I want to do a comment that still could be considered a lesson. It's just maybe not directly music. I want to. It's like advice I have about being a musician and about playing music in general, even though it's not technically how to do that or about music theory or anything right now. I know this for myself. I only know this for me. Like nothing ever happens till it happens to you, kind of thing. It happened to me yesterday. I was on a walk. I was on my walk yesterday, and it hit me. I can play lead guitar. I'm good. That's not an arrogant thing. Arrogance is kind of like, well, I'm great, aren't I great? It was like, no, I know I can play lead guitar. I'm really good. I knew it in my heart. And it was funny, not hilariously comic-wise, but funny that once I knew that, I had attitude and confidence. And people have talked about attitude in rock and roll. They don't really go on about it. But I think it's because I think it's kind of like a trade secret. Have attitude, you'll make it. But nobody wants to tell anybody else to do that because then somebody else will make it, not them. But I'm telling you guys, have attitude. That's Don Dokken talking live from Inception, 1981. He goes, "That's right. That's the L.A. attitude." Steve Vai, the Attitude song, literally a song called the Attitude Song, and he talked about his attitude. Attitude, Eddie Van Halen, he had attitude, man. If you don't have attitude, you haven't made it yet. I mean, I don't mean make it like in the business, but you haven't made it in your craft yet, and you aren't really ready to make it in the business yet. But I just got attitude yesterday because I know I can play lead guitar. And that covered the attitude, which covered everything else for basically that I was lacking. Like I can play chords. I know I can memorize songs. I can sing. I can memorize lyrics. I can play notes. I can play lead. But until I know in my heart, in my gut, that I can play lead guitar, that I'm good, I'm not going to have attitude. And then that attitude makes you better at everything else. If you know you can play lead, then that gives you permission to play everything else. Lead has to come first, at least in my book. You want to do something else? Fine, do that. But for me, I do lead. Once you know lead, once you know you can play lead, then the rhythm is secondary, the singing is secondary, the lyrics are secondary. You'll do that fine. Just practice it, learn it, do it over and over again. Do the right take, get it right, do it, try it again. You failed, try it again. But you have attitude. And I did that. I just showed that for the first time on my second take of Flying High Again, I Don't Know, and Crazy Train. Not in that order. It was I Don't Know, Flying High Again, Crazy Train. I know it wasn't perfect, but it had attitude. And it made up for any imperfection. And sometimes imperfection who's to say imperfection is a bad thing? Imperfection can make it human. Imperfection can make good art into great art. You don't know that. Be yourself. I know at one point, at some point I don't want to be too perfect. Like at the end of Crazy Train, I thought, I'm doing this too perfectly. It sounds like the record, so I kind of messed up on the lyric. And had Heirs of a Cold War didn't come to me for 4 measures, and I let it slip a little bit. I let it slide, let it slide. Because it would be human to do that. Oh, that's the lyric. Heirs of a Cold War. That's a weird lyric, and it's not always remembered, at least by me. It's the last lyric in Flying High Again. I mean, in Crazy Train. It's not as pronounced as I've listened to features or crazy, but that's how it goes. It's just Heirs of a Cold War. It's kind of more intellectual, and it was hard for me to think of it at the time. So I played a few more bars until, I remember it now, Heirs of a Cold War. And then I did a really cool thing. I made like a cool harmonic. I don't really remember right now, but I did something really cool. But then I messed up my part of the chord. I almost didn't go to. Well, that's humanness. That's humanness. But I had attitude. I knew I could play. That sounds like I have attitude there. I mean, it's just the note. You know you can play. You know you can play. And it covers everything else. And it has to be lead. I don't care if you know you can play chords. That's BS. Go play country. But if you know you can play lead guitar, you have attitude. And you can play everything as far as rock goes. I don't know about jazz and fusion and classical orchestras and all that nonsense. I'm not saying this nonsense because it's music and music is good, but for rock and roll, just have attitude. Not just, but have attitude. Know that you can play lead, and you'll have the confidence to play the other parts. They're not hard. Lead is the hard part. If you can do lead, you can do anything. And if you have attitude, then you know you can do lead, then you know you can do everything else. And if you know you can do everything else, you have attitude, and you're gonna be a success whether you make it physically with money or not. You're still an artist. That's what I discovered yesterday. I have attitude now. I'm not trying to brag about it. I'm just telling you about it. If I wanted to really be a jerk about it, I'd keep it to myself. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you guys what I'm going through, so I'm transparent, and you guys can do it too, hopefully. It takes a while, but you can have attitude. Know you can play. And don't just brag about it. Don't just think you're hot crap. Just know in your heart you can play lead. And that's why the haters have been on me, at least one reason. There's others. I'm sure there's more than one. But one of the reasons the haters were on my butt is because they didn't want me to come to that step. They wanted to discourage me, so I'd never have attitude, so I'd never come to grips and say I can play lead. They wanted me to not do that because they're jealous, because they can't do it, or they just don't want someone else to succeed. And they're sadists, and they want someone else to suffer, and they get joy out of somebody else's suffering, namely mine, or including mine, maybe even only mine for all I know. They're sadists. They may even be sadists just for me. They may be personal Jimmy Weissman sadists. I don't know that. I'm not them. I don't know that. We're weird people, I guess. And one reason behind people not wanting someone else to succeed is because there's a kickback in physics. I studied physics. You had to study all science to be an engineering major at Harvard College. You didn't get away with not doing chemistry and physics and math. You had to do all that, not just engineering classes. But in physics, you learn that when someone tries to do something different, there's a kickback to it. Somebody else doesn't want that person to do that. People want the status quo. People don't want the next Jimi Hendrix to come up. They just don't, unless it's them. And if it's not them, they don't want it. In fact, they may hate you because it might be you, not them, and they may hate you and not want you to have it, so they hate you. But it happened for me yesterday. And that kickback, that physics of the closer you get to making something, the more resistance you have until you finally break the bubble. Break the bubble, shake it up. Well, it's just a random thing, but when you just get so close, you just don't quite have it, and pop, you got it. Now it's too late. The cat's out of the bag, the genie's out of the bottle, and you have it. And then all the haters can say what they want, but you know you can play. You have attitude. Fuck them. I'm saying it right now to them. But I'm not going to go on about it because this is YouTube. I'm not supposed to swear, but you guys get the point, I think. So that was a little preface to what I'm going to talk about music theory and technique. I think the way I hold the guitar, you can tell I have attitude. I don't know, I can tell. Maybe I'm not you, I don't know, but just know you can play lead guitar. That had attitude, it's not even just what you play or how hard it is. Just the attitude. They can't take that from you. They talk about things they can't take from you. They can take your life. They can take your money. But they can't take your soul. They can't take your spirit. And they can't take your attitude once you have it. I love you guys. Peace, love, and rock and roll. So if I get this mic to flip right for me. I don't know how to time this. Oh, there it goes. It's supposed to be able to turn like this. I want it to be just struggling with this microphone. It's a nice mic, though. And having said all that, I couldn't have done any of that. What I'm saying, I wouldn't have been able to do any of that without my friend and collaborator, the moderator. He set up OBS Studio for me to record like this. He set up the 2i2. He gave me this microphone. He designed the Radarator pedal for me to play, specifically for me to play. Everyone else can join me, but it was for me, so that I could get a better sound. He heard in my head as a potential sound that I wasn't getting, so he designed the Radarator for me. That's friendship, and I don't portray that. You know, I think you guys know what I mean by that. I don't go, well, screw him now. I'm going to do my. No, I remember that. I remember who was my friends. I don't care how big I get, millionaire, billionaire, whatever. I don't care. I'm going to remember my friends in the first place, the people that loved me when I was not that. And I remember those that don't. But I will be loyal and true to that. I think people get that about me and my close friends sense it. You know, they know that this is. I'm not three. She told my wife into this, but my wife, she when I met her, I didn't even know how to sign a check. I was so naive to the world. She taught me how to do what it takes to own a home, not just the money, but how to write the checks, how to manage the bills, how to do my checkbook, and just anything that involved the world, that mechanic stuff that I just smart enough to know but didn't know. And now she's not doing well, so I'm helping and giving her energy in return because she helped me. But I'm true to that. I'm not just saying, well, nah, I'm good, screw you. I'm not doing that. I'm not being a dick. And I think she knew, somehow she knew I wouldn't, that I would give her energy and time when it was my turn to help her, and I do, and I will. It's not a sexual thing. It's not, we're not intimate. But it's like, I am a human being, so is she. Takes both our money to keep this house, and so I support her with time and energy. I'm just not being a dick. Doesn't mean I'm her boyfriend or her acting as her intimate partner, whatever. But I'm also not being a dick. So there's that. Okay, now what am I going to talk about musically? I like my new idea of the left hand tapping. My guitar always seems to have the action too high. Maybe I don't know what happens. The weather's changing back to colder weather. Because wood is very sensitive to temperature, I think. I'm not a carpenter. But wood really is crazy. Like when temperatures change, wood goes all over the place, man. I think Greg Howe did a clinic I went to 10 years ago, and he said he had a company called Laguna that made him a guitar, but it only has 22 frets up until the time he did the clinic. That does not move. It will not change with the weather. Bad side of it is it doesn't have 24 frets yet, which I wouldn't do that. I still want a 24 fret guitar. I can't have that. I can't have 22 frets. Not enough. But to each his own. I'm not Greg, am I? But he said they might make one for him. But they hadn't made it yet when he did that video. When he did that clinic I went to. Boy, this guitar is really got it down. I can't get out my and that's not a drink. Well, it is a drink, but not how I'm saying it. I need to loosen the springs back here. Watch this. No, I need to tighten them. So you don't go the wrong. Yeah. Okay, so tighten the springs a little bit. No, it's a half step too high. I don't mean to go. Hey, I'm sorry about this, guys. You have John Harrelson, my main mentor, my actual teacher, said you got to have a good instrument. I don't care if you're Mozart. You have to have a good instrument to play on. You're only as good as your instrument. Adjusting the pickup height, that's important for your sound and everything. Turn this pickup a little down from the strings. Here, there, it's okay. Down from the strings here. Oh, by the way, you know what it cost me to learn how to set guitars up myself without having to go to some stupid, not that they're stupid, but I think it's not a good idea to go to a repairman every time you want your guitar set up. Well, I just took a guitar and just said, I'm going to learn how to do this even if I ruin it. And I ruined an Ibanez just to learn how to do all this stuff because I did it all wrong first. And by the time I had learned how to do all the setup, I'd wrecked the guitar. That's what it cost me. Good? Now, paradoxically, the action needs to be raised a little bit. I got it too low. But not by much, by a little bit. By the way, to the tone deaf people that think I have no tone deaf, how am I tuning, LOL? If I'm tone deaf or toneless, I don't know what toneless means. How am I tuning right now? Statement may never have been said before, right? What I'm about to say. Huey Lewis had a lyric that the heart of rock, they say the heart of rock and roll's the beat. That's true, but I think the heart of the electric guitar is the middle two strings, the D and the G. That's just the heart of a guitar. You can't beat it. This is not the same, and this is not the same. That is the heart of electric guitar for me. For the actual lesson, LOL. I like my new idea of left-hand tapping. It really is cool. It's not hammer-on. It's not slurring. It's tapping. I think Alan Holdsworth. He never pulled off or hammered. He tapped. He didn't like that meow sound. He didn't like that. He barely picked. It's exhausting for the left hand. So it's a cool thing. Starting with the left hand. I'm tapping with the left hand, Tapping with the right, pulling off, tapping with the left, tapping with the left, then hammering on with the other two, tapping. It's not this, it's this. Think Greg Howe. That is not the sound of Eddie Van Halen or even Steve Vai. It's different. Anyway, there's that. I love that thing. Yet I also like other things too, but I love that as well, you know. Picking, I love picking. Outside the string. Do you like me, Paul Gilbert? That's hard to do. It's one of the hardest things on guitar. That and left-hand tapping are both hard techniques, but they're worth it. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You have to outside the string picking. Down, up, 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 down, up. It's really hard to do that. Down, up, 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 down. Hard to do because you know but it's worth it if you can do it. You know, Paul even says make the other upstroke exaggerated to get it in your brain. He goes, I don't. That doesn't really help the technique, but it might get it in your head better. He does it like this. In his Intense Rock 1 video, 1988. Intense Rock 1, 88, I think. Yeah, he teaches that. Not easy to do, but important if you can. It kind of separates the, what are they called, men from boys, whatever. So picking is important, and so is left-hand tapping. They're like extremely different sounding and technically things, but they're important. Sweeping. Sweeping's important too. That wasn't sweeping, that was alternate at the end, but you know. Let's do all the techniques. Right hand tapping is, of course, important, but not everybody, but that's been covered many times. And plus, I include right hand tapping with left hand tapping at times, you know. Left hand tapping, right hand tapping, alternate picking, sweep picking, and then there's legato, which is when you're really slurring things, you know. That's different than left hand tapping. It slurs. That's not left hand tapping. That's legato. Alan Holdsworth didn't like that sound. All right, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, there's legato. Some people, I don't pick when I do legato. I just let it slide. You know? And then string skipping. There's a lot of string skipping things to do. But there's all kinds of string skipping stuff. You can go on and on about it. The oldies progression with a 1 4 5 with a minor with a 6 minor. One major, 6 minor, 4 major, 5 major, 1 major. Wait. It's called the oldies progression. Be careful with that one. If you want to use it a lot, you're going to get that old time sound if you're not careful. Make it rock though, go. Spruce it up and people won't recognize it, but if you go dun, 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 that becomes like, what's he playing from the 50s? Harmonics are cool. 5, 4, 3.25, 2.66, 2.3. You know, don't forget those higher ones. They can really sound different because they're odd notes that people don't usually play as much. You're going to sound different and more unique. And then if you just go, everybody, that's more common. That's not as common. So play the uncommon lick, the uncommon note. Now, artificial harmony. Whammy bar technique. that kind of thing. Sounds great, especially in the middle of a song and solo. I mean, it sounds by itself, it sounds cool, but in a solo, it can be even more cool. That was the first part of the solo, at least part of the first part of the solo to Ice 9 by Joe Satriani. Goes into the B part. He goes into some weird played backwards in the song too. So that's Lizard Down the Throat. You slide up while moving the whammy bar down. Or slide down while pulling the whammy bar up. Slide. And there's the talking. Before I do the talking guitar, let's do the pitches with whammy bar. Hard to do. Do it with a harmonic. That's from Minky Rose. Divide. And then talking guitar, you do a lot of nonsense notes, but with whammy bar. I'm not saying I'm as good as Steve at that, but whatever. What else? Mozart. Sorry. Oh, yeah. I love that. You know, and then you can learn it on your own and do your own thing with it. And that wasn't exactly Mozart, but I took his idea and made my own. That wasn't Mozart anymore, but I took Mozart's idea and made it my own stuff. I swear I just made that up, but I used his ideas. Just make up your own stuff, but you know Mozart, what he does, his idea, and use it for your own music, and understand what he did so you can make it your own. Live, guys, peace, love, and rock and roll.